Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Southampton. Merry Christmas, everyone. It's your host, Go Finch, and obviously I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Gregory Elliott, on this Christmas Day, I guess, bonus episode. Technically, it's a weekday, but also this is, let's face it, a national holiday for most people everywhere.
It's a Wednesday, so we had to do a wildcard episode.
Yeah, you had to do a listen to Zach ramble for a while.
And it took every piece of me to just not scream at the top of my lungs in Noddy Holder style, "It's Christmas!"
And if you want. Today we are going to talk about Boxing Day football, specifically Boxing Day football at Southampton over the last 10 years. So for long-term listeners will know I didn't really grow up being too sporty. I didn't really have any sort of traditions. And other long-term listeners will know Greg, on the flip side of that, it's his Boxing Day tradition now. Goes with his family. You love a good Boxing Day game, right?
Yeah, I mean, my young memories as a kid were my dad trying to sneak out from my mum's side of the family to listen to the football in the car. And then as I got older, with my father-in-law, Boxing Day football was a tradition. And now, we got season tickets, my sister-in-law and the kids. And my wife went, "Well, Boxing Day is a time for family. You shouldn't be at the football. It should be family time." And it was established that, well, she was the minority in that case, and so if she wanted family time, she'd come to the football with us. And
it's a win, mate, though, at the end of the day.
I mean, last year she went on record and said, "I hope next year's an away day," and what that was taken to mean was she was up for a road trip. So
Nice. Well, as obviously it's Christmas Day, I wanted to make sure that we put some stuff out for everybody here. Mainly because I have this thing where, as a avid podcast listener myself, usually during the Christmas period, sort of content disappears and there's a lot of replays and old episodes, and that's understandable. Like we are all human. Me and Greg are human too, despite the fact that we seem to be able to. We're doing a daily podcast episode that is soon to be 100 episodes, which kind of feels a bit surreal considering we've been doing this together since September. You've been going a little bit longer. But yeah, so we thought we'd give you a nice one for Christmas. So we will start at everyone's favourite year, 2014, because, one of the years we returned to the Premier League. It's 10 years from now, so I thought 10 years is probably a bit too many anyway. But let's do it. So 2014 is a season we've talked about a lot. That was a season where we had people like Nathaniel Klein line up, but on Boxing Day we won 3-1. Greg, against Crystal Palace.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good game. Goals from Mane, Bertrand, and Toby Alderweireld, who we only had for that one solitary season before he disappeared off the Spurs, despite the fact that apparently we had, I want to say, verbal contract that he was signing to us. Who knows?
Was it really only here for one season? It felt like he was here much longer than that.
He went to Spurs because he was supposed to stay for longer after he came from Atletico Madrid, but didn't. 2 of those assists came from a James Ward-Prowse, who went on to be prolific for Saints, but at the time was relatively unknown. And I also came across another random stat when I was looking this stuff up, which was on this day, 17-year-old Adam Armstrong made his debut for Newcastle, achieving a 100% pass rate with only 9 passes, 2 of which, though, were key passes that led to goals. And I don't know why that aged me so much, but I didn't realise that Adam Armstrong was 27. I, for some reason, thought he was 35. Now, I don't know if that's just because he's a northern geezer, but thinking about him being 17 at that time broke my brain a little bit.
Yeah, that's crazy. It really doesn't quite click.
Right, so, that was 2014. It was a good one, we started off strong with the win. And now we move on to one of the most exciting wins. So 2015, Greg, do you remember 2015 or not? Let's see if you do. I feel like I'm putting you on the spot because I know your memory isn't half as good as mine.
Mate, my memory's shocking.
If I told you Kuka Martina, would that jog that memory a little bit?
Oh, mate, do you know I do remember this? This was okay. No, it just took me a minute. So Boxing Day 2015 was the day after my daughter was born, and so we had just got back from hospital right around kick-off time on Boxing Day, and I do just about remember sitting holding my newborn daughter and definitely waking her up as that particular goal curled into the net.
Absolute insanity. Like, no one knows where it came from. But we went on to beat Arsenal that day 4-0 with a double from Shane Long and also a goal from Jose Font. Before that as well, we'd lost 4 out of 5 of our Premier League games. So I'm relatively sure that came over that like weird period when Koeman was in charge, where I think some fans wanted to get rid of him because we weren't winning as many games. But then we randomly run out of the races and do that, which is mad, absolutely mad. So that was 2015, mate. Which suddenly you remembered as soon as
That's
I mentioned that.
Do you know what? It just didn't quite click that was the year that it was. But you're right. I remember I had just sat down with my Christmas dinner that my father-in-law had very kindly prepared for us after spending 2 days in hospital. So yeah, it's all kind of a fuzz anyway. If we're being honest, there was a real sleep-deprived thing going on that year.
Yeah, I bet, mate. So, before we take our first break, we will talk about the 2016 Boxing Day. So this is where things started to turn for us at Southampton, Greg. Not entirely, just to be clear. We were 5th in the league when this happened. We didn't technically play on Boxing Day, and I'm starting to think if that's part of the problem, although later results will show that it actually doesn't matter at all. Similar to, how we kind of suffered the other day a little bit. And it's weird how history repeats itself in that way, but we lost 4-1 to Spurs.
Oh, I think I remember this game.
Yeah, there you go.
Score early.
We did. Van Dijk scored in the 2nd minute, and that was about as much as there was from there.
I mean, Son must have scored for them. He always scores
Correct.
against them.
Son, Harry Kane, and 2 from Dele Alli, another player who always really liked to score against us when he played for Spurs for some reason.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that really dates it because wow.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, obviously, we've just heard Dele Alli put out a statement about leaving Everton and going on to try and sort of kick into his career into gear somewhere else. But this was at a time where he was sort of flying high, and yeah, we got punished. So that's that, and we will take our first break now.
Yeah, so we here at the Global Sports Network spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr.
So we are back. The year is 2017. Me and you at this point, mate, had been working together for about a year.
That in itself is pretty crazy.
Yeah, when you look back and realise how long ago, yet how sort of short time span it was. So we did actually play Boxing Day this time. So if you thought that the curse was the fact that we didn't play on Boxing Day, I think maybe the curse was that we just played Spurs, because this game was another absolute stinker where we lost 5-2 to Spurs.
Oh no.
Indeed. So Buffal and Tadic both scored for us. Who do you reckon scored for Spurs?
Well, I'm going to guess Heung-min Son.
Correct.
Dele Alli.
Correct.
Seemingly. Probably Harry Kane.
Correct. You got it on the money, except that 3 of those goals were Harry Kane and it was a hat-trick. Obviously, the venue is Wembley, because I'm pretty sure that's when Spurs were changing over to the Olympic Stadium.
Oh, I remember
that. Yeah, which is crazy. There was like we got to play Premier League games at Wembley. Weird time. We were 14th in the season, in like that season in the table, in comparison to the year before where we were 5th. So this is when we're starting to change, right? This is when things are starting to feel a bit more like they do now. Not quite, but we weren't having the best of results as we were having previously.
Yeah.
So that leads us on to 2018. This was not a Boxing Day match. 2018 was a 27th of December match. So at this point, we've now started a tradition of Boxing Day losses, which is just awful. And we lost 2-1 to West Ham, which doesn't bode well for us playing West Ham.
Oh no!
So it might be the reverse of what you think that the score is going to be, mate. Redmond scored the only Saints goal. Good old
Wow,
goal from Nathan Redmond. However, all 3 goals were scored between the 50th and 60th minute. It was like Redmond scored and they scored twice, and then we just couldn't get back into the game.
that's
During,
crazy.
yes, it's weird. Like it's
And
weird
also,
how
so
Southampton that is.
Saint. Yeah, no, you're right. Like the more I think about it, I said it's crazy, but actually, that sounds so us. Yeah,
It blows my mind because we've been through this before. We talk about it quite a lot where you love the stats and looking at the history of games. And as somebody that studies history, I much prefer doing stuff like this. But the actual idea that like we would play historically the same as we play now, it just doesn't compute with the logical side of my brain because
and
they're
yet there are
completely different
patterns
players.
that follow through.
Right. This is when you start to think maybe there is some sort of weird divine intervention going on. But like,
It's gambler's fallacy, mate. That's all it is.
well, this is the other thing. I don't gamble, so I don't know how to deal with this juxtaposition. And we were also sitting 15th at the time, whereas the season before 14th. So again, the sort of
Slowly.
downhill continues. And Felipe Anderson was the one that scored both goals for West Ham. But again, that's just such a Southampton thing to do, to score, celebrate, sit back on it for all of 30 seconds, concede 2, and then just not know how to recover it. So 2019, actual Boxing Day football. This was about a month after I got married, which I feels like yesterday. So this was also the last sort of year before all like the weird COVID intermission, where like COVID ball was its own separate crazy time full of weird results that no one ever expected. But we actually won this game, Greg. We won 2-0 against Chelsea. Chelsea at the time being managed by Frank Lampard, which
I think I remember this game. I can't remember if I went or not. This was right around that time where it could have gone either way, but I do remember this game, and yeah.
yes, it's weird to think, Big Frank, who's had what two goes at that job now. Also, the Everton job, it is now riding high with Coventry City, which is a
Yeah, it
disrespect to Coventry
started, if
City.
I recall properly, up until this season, it started a series of wins where we've really had Chelsea's number for a little while.
Yeah, we had like we've played well against Chelsea weirdly historically, and I don't know why. Maybe we give them a lot of our players and they feel bad. But that was a game that Obafemi scored in, mate.
Wow.
Of all players, and obviously Nathan Redmond, because as much as I
What's
remember
the date
Redmond getting a lot of criticism, but yet he was a player that always was one of the few players that did occasionally. It's very hot and cold, right? But he's appearing on this score sheet quite a lot, like
Mate,
over a number of
give him
years.
roast turkey as his pre-match day meal every game. He must have been all right, clearly.
But yeah, this was another season where, like, weirdly, we were sitting 14th again. So we kind of had that sort of
This
mid-table-y
was the
vibe
year that
straight
we
after.
finished about. I think we finished like 11th or something that year. So
I think it's crazy, like looking at our position at Christmas throughout the years, and then remembering where we sort of ended up the end of that season. But this was the first time we'd kept a clean sheet in 14 games, which apparently at the time ended the longest run in a division of not having a clean sheet. Which again, like we love to break the weirdest records that
yeah,
nobody ever asked for. Like it's so like it was like the other day with like us losing 5-0 and then it being like, oh, that's the fourth time in the Premier League history that a team's been down 5-0 at half time. The second time it's been Southampton. Which if you can't laugh at us, who knows? But I do kind of remember this year. I'm pretty sure the year that I got married was 2019, and that was the same year that our cat had to be rushed to the vets on Christmas Day. So it was a nice bit of like positivity after spending a day in an emergency vet in Bitton, which I can only tell you now is one of the worst Christmases I've ever had. You try being happy in a place where they're putting down pets on Christmas Day. It's not fun. My cat was fine, to be fair. Just a bit of an idiot that cost me £1,000. So that leads us nicely on to obviously the big turn of a lot of the world, but specifically in football, the period of time where there just weren't supporters, and that was 2020. COVID ball, Boxing Day football. What do you reckon the result was, Greg?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 4. I just don't remember it at all.
Right, this is the thing. It's weird how often we think and talk. This was the game that I alluded to, where after having a really poor draw against Fulham, we also on this day had a poor draw against Fulham. it was a 0-0 on Boxing Day against Fulham,
This
which
was
is
a
just
weird period of time, right? Because this was like the year where there were rumours of police raids if you had family Christmas, because we headed into a second lockdown or something, right? So,
absolutely insane levels of like, just the world felt like a different place and time.
kind of
And
broke time for me mentally as well. Like,
yeah, there's very much a before and after COVID for me now. And I still start to think that for me, I'm on 2020 plus like 30, 40 months as opposed to, living in slowly my brain's getting out of that. But this was still very much a time, we were ninth at this time. So think people kind of forget how wild west COVID ball was and some of the results that have spat out of it.
strange.
There's a couple of threads that were doing the round on Twitter, and they were kind of like the streets won't forget COVID ball, and it was just some of like the crazy sort of high scoring results where you had like Liverpool beating Spurs like 7-2, and which, to be fair, after the other day, not so weird anymore.
Yeah,
But yeah,
already.
just like it was when a lot of results were coming out, and obviously no crowd, and then you were watching football with fake crowd noise on, which sure,
Strange.
we were unbeaten in 7 away games, but it was the first time we failed to beat a newly promoted squad in the first. I think it was, we failed to win for the first time in 10 games against a newly promoted squad. So I don't know how that stat, why that stat matters at all, but it's a stat that
It is a
appeared
stat.
in the website that I found, which 11v11, by the way, if anyone wants to check that out. We also had a goal scored in this game. It was just ruled offside,
Classic.
and it was a Theo Walcott goal.
Probably
Where
was.
back. Obviously, I was a VAR reviewed as well, because obviously I feel
Of
like we think
course.
VAR's been there forever, but it's not. It's really not.
That's crazy. That
Right,
is mad. All right, well, almost on the home straight.
very much so. So that leads us nicely into our second break of the day, where I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the Global Sports Podcast Network. So the Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, fantasy football, and a daily Premier League wrap-up broadcasted in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts. So yes, mate, we're now back into the sort of home stretch. We're in the 2020s now, so 2021, which was still kind of COVID ball. I don't remember when everyone came back into the stadiums, right? Like this must have been
This
by
was
this point.
back in. This was an attendance of 41,000. I just
Okay, well
clicked
then,
through.
yeah, feel like
Slight
people were
spoiler
there
alert.
then.
Yeah, I think we're back to pretending that COVID never existed at this point.
So, in something that might turn out to be a reverse of what I said and more on to yours, this was another game where we played West Ham. And it was a Boxing Day as well. We were 14th in the league, so still not as struggling as much, but not quite the 9th the year before. It was a dramatic 3-2 win over West Ham. So we're really starting to understand where all of this history of us having high scoring games with West Ham's come from. Because I remember us also beating them sort of 3-2 with the last minute Charlie Austin penalty. That wasn't this game, but I'm just starting to remember every game we've played against West Ham previously. But this had goals from both Elianusi, of all people, who I just thought he'd never scored for us, James Ward-Prowse, and Jan Bednarek. So we had goals from West Ham from obviously Antonio, which should kind of tell you how long he's been there, and I hope he's doing well, and Ben Rama. This was also at the time when we had Armando Broja in the squad and also Tino. So I think I'm giving the stat in the next episode, but this is where I came across how Tino Livramento had started 18 games in a row to be the first teenager to do that since Mika Richards, which is nuts because that's like shows you, even though we didn't have our academy up to top brass at this kind of point, right? And it's only recently that started to kind of turn the corner. We were still very much about buying youth players, but this was like the Chelsea times, right? Where we would,
was unbelievable for us that season.
yeah,
And then played too much, got injured, and we never saw him again. So
Exactly, and like it was devastating because obviously he had a chance. I think he came back for like a game, and then
yeah,
obviously went off to Newcastle, and he's absolutely killing it there. But
I
this
think
is
it's similar sort of time we had Juan Larios make his debut, and
where you thought he was a ball boy.
genuinely thought he was a ball boy. Yeah, like, oh, that's weird. The young mascot's run away from the people looking after him there and gone the other side of the pitch. That's really funny. Wait, that's our fullback. Oh my god.
Bless him. Maybe one day we'll see him play again. Who knows? This game was
It's got to be a good sign of things to come,
yeah, for
right?
sure. So we got a penalty this game given to us by VAR, which was nice. And it
Lovely.
was our first win in 7. Not all of those have been losses. We had some draws in between. It's not like now where we feel like if we didn't win it, there must have been a loss beforehand. But yeah, just a bit of a weird. So that the omens are it could go either way with West Ham, but there's a lot of goals on a Boxing Day game with West Ham.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that was the season that we just about hung in there, right? So
yeah, just about right. So unfortunately, we are going into 2022.
now we're solidly into games that I definitely attended.
So actual Boxing Day, Nathan Jones is in the dugout, and we lost 3-1 to Brighton.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of those goal scorers for Brighton, Greg, was now Adam Lallana. You know that guy when they occasionally get him out the freezer, he plays for us.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah,
Didn't we score an own goal as well?
I believe so. And then Solly March scored the other one, I think. Or alternative, I can't remember if it was either that or Solly March was the one it was given to off the back of an own goal, but it wasn't a pretty game. Ward Prowse was our only scorer, more than likely a free kick. We were 20th, but here's one of the fun facts about this, mate, is that we had our worst home record with only 6 points, but from 8 games.
Yeah, here's a fun fact. That was my first season ticket year. So
But like, it's the fact that
my
we
value for money, 6
it's the
points
fact
from 8.
that it was considered to be a problem that we got 6 points from 8, whereas
Yeah.
now we've got 6 points from 16?
Yeah.
Admittedly, only half of those are at home, but maybe
I
we'll
remember
see.
it vividly. That Boxing Day, the team were booed off at half time.
It's got a really festive cheer.
Nathan Jones was not a popular appointment.
No,
I think
he was
Rousey
not.
missed the penalty but scored the rebound, which was endemic of the entire season. It wasn't a positive day. We
No,
left feeling miserable.
I feel like you probably at that point was like, I've spent all of this money to watch this. Oh, goodness gracious me.
It's a strange parallel, right? Because if I recall, that was actually Nathan Jones' first home game as well. And yeah,
We all know how well it ended for Nathan Jones.
it was brief tenure.
It was a very brief tenure. The only thing that they did do, which was very silly, was give him a transfer window where he got to spend the money he wanted to spend a little bit on players that we probably shouldn't have. And this is the problem with history repeating itself.
Immediately at the end of the transfer window, we just got rid of him. So all of those players were, the only
left
one
in limbo
that came good was James Bree,
which was ironic because we'd have all thought it would have been Onuachu, Solomana. It's just weird how much of a parallel there is, right? We just got to hope that Jurek does a little bit more to not upset everybody on Boxing Day. That's where I'm at, right?
Look, I think we're in a position where, I mean, the crowd was split with Russell Martin, but much more towards the Martin out. The crowd was split with Hassan Hootel, maybe less so, but Nathan Jones was not who anyone wanted to replace Ralph.
I have never ever seen. I still to this day can't recall a scene like it on Twitter where I would refresh my page and all it would be was Nathan Jones out, 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 and then you click refresh and it would just be a different group of people with Nathan Jones out, Nathan Jones out, Nathan Jones out. There was some similar stuff with Russell Martin, but like not half as much. Like it was every single reply to everything.
The whole season was miserable.
It was a miserable season, which somehow this one's less, and maybe that's because the players are trying and they're just not as good. Whereas that season we had
perhaps we kind of half expected it because coming up from the Championship is difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas, we were a solid Premier League team before
Yeah.
that. So,
Strange, isn't it?
I
But
mean, the year before we went down, I say we only just stayed up, but actually, if I recall, we were pretty comfortably on cruise control by like February, and then after that, we didn't win a game. So it was.
it was whichever season where we managed to score against Swansea right towards the end. Because that lives in my head rent free, because it was Gabbiadini, and it was one of the worst goals I've ever seen. And I remember watching it at home on my computer and was flipping my desk. So it was whatever season that was.
Yeah.
I struggle to remember the actual year, but yeah, it's been sort of weird. But you're right. I think it was the fact that we had been such an established Premier League squad and
Mm,
side for so long, and that kind of was coming rapidly to a close, and everyone still had this like sort of deluded idea that we'd stay up,
mm,
and maybe like now, except the vibes weren't there.
no.
Maybe the vibes can turn this time around. But let's go to last Boxing Day, which
Much happy
was a
memories.
cause for celebration, and maybe shows the stark difference between, I guess, the Championship and the Premier League. Because last Boxing Day, which you would have attended, Greg,
Oh, we were
was
there.
the Russell Martin derby, where
I got
we
told off
played
by
against Swansea.
we moved from our normal season ticket seats in the northern end, and had to, because we go with a huge amount of my family. We had to move ourselves. Luckily, this year we've managed to get
Oh,
tickets, and I got in trouble for standing up. Um,
and that's why you never should move out of Northern, mate.
I standing up, and then almost got in trouble for mounting back because I wanted to stand up. And yeah, other than that though, great game, good day out. A
Yeah,
Rebo scored, and it was, I think, the first time that we heard the goal music change from Zombie Nation to Gold, because there was an awkward pause where the entire crowd were like, "What's this? This isn't Zombie Nation," and then a beautiful moment where it clicked into place and everyone figured it out, and then the whole stadium just exploded into noise and song, and yeah,
beautiful.
and that is why every time I take my wife with me to see Saints, she is praying for a Rebo to score. So
That's a better reason than not, mate, isn't it?
yeah,
You know, but that was a good game. We won 5-0. What a beautiful, beautiful time to be alive and enjoy football. A Rebo, a Dozy, 2 from Ryan Fraser at that point, and a 93rd minute Che Adams goal sealed the win. Moved us third into the championship. We were catching up with the Tractor Boys, apparently.
yeah,
Obviously, it wouldn't stay that way, but this was also when we went unbeaten in 16 at this point.
yeah,
So this was in the middle of the unbeaten sort of run, which again, regardless of what the outcome has been with Russell Martin, underlines that nothing can take away last season in Wembley. Like all of that was
yeah.
beautiful,
And
and
I remember it vividly. Russell Martin took a lot of stick from the Swansea fans as their former manager, and definitely enjoyed showing it to them back at the end of the game. I remember it went down really well. Yeah, what day?
what a day! And it was apparently this contest underlined why Martin left Swansea for Southampton,
Yeah,
because obviously
they
he
were
felt a lot of
awful.
sympathy for them. Didn't try not to celebrate too much because he was like, "Hey, I know what their problem is. Having absolutely zero investment is a problem." And the rest was history. Obviously, we went on to get promoted, and now we're in the horrible position we're in now. But that was a lovely day out for everybody involved, and now hopefully the next
Not
one
so
will
much for
be a
Swansea
lovely day out
fans,
too.
it's got to be said.
Sorry,
Not so much for the Swansea fans, it has to be said. They were
everyone
vehemently
involved from the
protesting their
Southampton
club's
side, mate.
owners. But yeah,
From a Swansea
I
side,
enjoyed
you're
it.
right. It would have been awful. And obviously, that leads us to 2024, where all I've got in bold capital letters is "Who knows?" New manager again, though.
It's Boxing Day. It's Boxing Day. Something crazy can happen. We could win 9-0. Just put it to bed.
Oh, look, I'm all right with some of your delusions. All right, I'm already deluded myself into thinking it's going to be a high-scoring game.
I'll take it.
It's making me the festive cheers making me hope that it's for us. We'll have to see how it works out. It could be the start of the turn in our season to actually starting to get points again. And even if it's just a beat Derby's record, like that's kind of where I'm at. That's all we got hope for at the moment. We can start hoping for more crazy things if we get some wins, because like the new manager bounce was worked for a few people. Like Wolves Wolves won their last game 3-0 against Leicester, but unfortunately, when Leicester came in, with Ruud van Nistelrooy and the new manager bounce. That lasted all of 2 games. And the same with Manchester United, because they lost 3-0 to Bournemouth recently. So who knows? There's lots to look forward to. It's the Premier League. It's fun, but either way, it's all good.
Our European charge starts now.
At some point today, you might have seen a tweet pop up. That tweet will be Greg's prediction after the Wolves game of what was going to happen. You can tell from his face right now that he has completely forgotten that that's going live at 8 a.m. today.
Fantastic.
But it is going live at 8 a.m., so look out for that.
15 points in the European charge. Now we've got a different manager and we got 1.
1 point, and not only that manager isn't here anymore. So It is what it is. But
our interim manager retires undefeated. So
he does. He without a goal scored. No, literally is flat across the board in the Premier League. It's basically like starting again. But all I can say, everyone, is thank you very much for joining us today. If you have, Merry Christmas. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for being on this journey with us so far. It's been a wild ride. Me and Greg have a lot of fun doing it. It gives us something to concentrate on and laugh about and enjoy that unfortunately isn't the result this season. But then again, if we won every single game, it would have been like City's podcast up until the time they played us, where they've probably had a lot more fun to talk about too. It's been a whale of a time, and we've still got the rest of the season to go. So we hope you join us for the ride. Catch us on all the social media. There'll be a bunch of tweets and stuff going out today, or X's, or whatever you want to call them. We're on Blue Sky, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, all of those fun places. Give us a like, give us a follow. We're available on Spotify, Apple Music, all that kind of fun stuff. And we will be with you tomorrow for the preview in the morning before the West Ham game. And hopefully we'll be getting 3 points. So Merry Christmas, Saints fans, and goodbye.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.